History has not forgotten that Biya was the headquarters of West Cameroon. History has not forgotten that Biya was the capital of southern Cameroon. And history has not forgotten that Biya was once
Welcome to Talk of Africa 360, your source for insightful news, analysis, and thoughtful commentary. If you value informed perspectives and fact-based reporting, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is based on reliable public sources and credible online information. It is intended strictly for educational and analytical purposes. We do not promote or endorse political violence, hate speech, or any form of discrimination. Our goal is to inform, not to inflame. Thanks for being here. Let's stay informed together.
It started without a word, no headlines, no tanks, no televised declaration. Just a whisper across digital platforms, Cameroonians woke up not to a coup, but to the rumour of one. A storm of uncertainty flooded X, Facebook, and YouTube. Word spread. Paul Biya was gone. The military had stepped in. But where was the proof? Where were the soldiers, the official statements, the visuals? There was nothing, and yet the story wouldn't die. Days earlier, in the bustling city of Douala, tension had already flared. Maurice Kamto, the leading opposition voice, had called for a political meeting calm, legal, and within party grounds. It wasn't a protest, nor a march, but the authorities treated it like an uprising. Police sealed roads, fired tear gas, and dispersed unarmed attendees. What was supposed to be a quiet gathering became a flashpoint. As tear gas clouds hung in the streets, a louder question emerged, one that couldn't be extinguished by force. Has Cameroon drifted too far from democracy? By Monday, this anxiety had mutated. The supposed coup wasn't just a rumour, it became a mirror reflecting a nation's fragile state. Even without evidence, people believed it. Some felt it was a dress rehearsal. Others thought the change had already begun in the minds of the people. There were no armed takeovers, no televised generals. But silence in Cameroon often speaks louder than words. The president didn't address the nation. No clarifications came. Only one tweet appeared hours later, cryptic, formal, detached. Meanwhile, life resumed, but under a new kind of pressure. Because when people start preparing for change without confirmation, it's not politics anymore, it's a psychological shift. The gathering in Douala had been simple on paper. A routine party event at the headquarters of the Cameroon Renaissance movement, but by sunrise, the venue was blocked. Police and security forces surrounded the site, access routes were locked down, and even airports saw tightened measures. No public ban had been announced, yet everything was paralysed. Supporters trying to attend were turned back, some with force, others chased down side streets. The situation escalated when riot police responded to unarmed civilians with tear gas, not negotiation. Videos captured the chaos, people running. Children clutched to their mothers, elderly citizens shouting in despair. It wasn't crowd control, it was intimidation. This wasn't just about Kamto or one party's ambitions. It reflected a deeper truth that the government feared even peaceful dialogue. That political power no longer defended itself with ideas, but with armoured vehicles and chemical gas. By evening, the images had gone viral. They reached not just Doula's neighbourhoods, but Cameroonians around the globe. And with those images came a realisation. The illusion of tolerance had cracked. No one had stormed the palace, but something had been breached: public faith. Then came Monday's rumour wave. Biya is out. The army is in control. Shots fired near strategic sites. Screenshots of supposed troop movements spread like wildfire. Yet, no verifiable source could confirm anything. No photos, no credible witnesses, just a spreading shadow. But in Cameroon, silence is never neutral. When state broadcasters fall quiet and government websites remain idle, it doesn't soothe nerves, it sets them on edge. Vendors whispered behind their stalls. Teachers hesitated to open classrooms. Business owners waited for signs. Everyone was watching, but nothing was showing. What made this moment so powerful wasn't that a coup had happened, it was that so many believed it might have. Belief filled the vacuum left by the government's silence. No gunshots were needed, just uncertainty. This was the real revelation. The regime felt more fragile in silence than it ever had during unrest. That Tuesday, President Biya finally spoke, not to calm fears, not to address the confrontation in Douala, but with a short, cold message on X. In a democracy, access to power comes through the ballot box, not the street, the media, or social networks. No context, no empathy, no reassurance, just a reprimand. A digital monologue aimed at dissenters, not a dialogue with citizens. The backlash was immediate. Young Cameroonians who had supported peaceful engagement felt dismissed. "We weren't rioting," one student wrote, "we were trying to speak. Now we're being treated like criminals." Others took to social media to voice their disbelief. "If this is democracy," one post read, "then where is our voice?" Rather than de-escalating, Biya's post poured fuel on frustration. Instead of bridging the divide, it deepened it. The message wasn't just defensive, it was out of touch. For Cameroon's youth, who have lived their entire lives under Biya's rule, the weekend's events weren't just disturbing, they were symbolic. They've waited for change, for reform, for opportunity. But what they've received are barricades, tear gas, and tweets. International observers began to whisper, if Cameroon, one of Central Africa's long-standing powerhouses, could wobble under a wave of digital speculation, how long before that doubt takes form? The state hadn't collapsed, but something was unraveling. People resumed their routines, but something had shifted in the atmosphere. And while Biya was physically present, many questioned whether he was still the one steering the ship. Was the government running on autopilot? Was the military quietly consolidating influence, or was the state simply drifting? The most unsettling part was not what had happened but what hadn't. There had been no national address. No formal denial, no acknowledgement of the public's anxiety. Just a machine that kept moving, disconnected from the people it was meant to serve. In private conversations, even diplomats began asking, is the Biya model reaching its expiration date? The regime's traditional tools, fear, censorship, and spectacle, seem less effective by the day. Fear is fading, silence has been pierced by smartphones. And state spectacle now feels hollow to a generation raised online. By week's end, the coup rumours faded, but the deeper question remained, why had they been so believable? Because the erosion of trust is its own kind of uprising. It doesn't need tanks or soldiers, just disbelief, just silence. Just the sense that no one's at the wheel. Cameroon didn't fall, but for 2 days, it felt like it could. And that feeling, that perception, isn't easily undone. In homes, in classrooms, in markets and diaspora groups, the conversation had changed. It wasn't about a coup anymore, it was about credibility. About a future still chained to the past. And that's where the real shift lies, not in regime change, but in the people's awakening. Because sometimes, revolutions don't arrive with noise, they begin with silence. If this is democracy, one user asked, where is our voice? The youth who once believed in reform felt betrayed. The silence of the government became an answer of its own. Cameroon did not have a coup, but something shifted, a psychological coup of trust. The question is no longer was there a coup, the question is why did it feel so real? President Paul Biya has ruled for over 4 decades. But this generation wasn't born in the 80s. They were born into a world of smartphones, of accountability, of change. In Cameroon, no tanks rolled in, but trust collapsed. And when trust falls, regimes start to wobble. It's not always the guns that spark revolution, sometimes it's the silence. The coup didn't happen, but the people are awake. And that, too, can change everything.
As reactions continue to pour in from across the continent, one thing is clear. Africa is demanding respect, sovereignty, and accountability. Was this just a diplomatic misstep or a deeper sign of shifting global alliances? We'll be watching closely. If you found this story important, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real, unfiltered African news. This is Talk of Africa 360, telling the stories that matter.